Hello and welcome to the Advanced Dissolve Effects video tutorial. In this video I will show the basic usage of my effects pack, which can be purchased at the Unreal Marketplace. And let's start with the contents first. First of all, you need to place your Advanced Dissolve Effects folder inside your main content folder like this. And we have one material function for each effect. We have 5 variants of the dissolve effect, each of which I will be demonstrating in this video. And we also have some textures which can be used for border effects or masks. And we have some blueprints which are required for some of the effects to work properly. So let's start with the simple variant of the effect. And in order to do that, I will use this chair, and let's start with opening its material. And we need to add the corresponding material function first. And since we are already using the base color input of our material, we need to connect the original color and color connections like this. If the material had specular emissive or opacity or position offset inputs into the material, we would also need to connect those ones like this. And we also need to connect the specular, emissive and opacity mask outputs of the material function like this. And by the way, this material was originally using opaque blend mode, which I changed to masked so we can make it disappear. You can also use translucent if the original material is using translucent. So let's hit apply and close this one. In order to access the parameters, we need to create an instance of the material and assign it to our mesh. And here we have the instance. So let's start with the amount parameter, which simply adjusts the amount of the dissolved parts. 0 means completely visible material, 1 means completely invisible material. Let's use some value like this for now. And we also have this border level parameter, which simply adjusts the breadth of the emissive border. This value means no emissive border, and this means lots of emissive border. So let's use this one for now. You can also apply a power operation to your mask like this. So let's use 1 for now, which is the default value. And the tiling of course can be adjusted like this. Okay, so the mask has a shape like this, as you can see, and the mask comes of course from a texture now, which can be found here. And let's use another mask so you can see how the mask works. By default, the red channel is being used as the mask, as you can see here, but we can also have an animated mask, which will be using the red and green channels together. And this is how the animated version looks. So let's get back to our original mask texture, and let's use a smaller amount of dissolved parts. Okay, so the panning speed can be adjusted like this, and we can also have an animated mask which is procedural. And when the procedural version is used, we don't have to worry about texture seams anymore. So let's find some texture seams here. As you can see, we don't have a continuous mask here, but when you turn on the procedural mask, the mask is always continuous, which is nice. And of course the procedural mask can be adjusted like this, and the speed also can be adjusted. Okay, and we also have a ramp border option here, which will apply a border gradient to the emissive parts of the texture, the emissive parts of the material. And that texture is here, and let me just stop the animation. As you can see, we have the border texture here applied to the material, red, yellow, green, etc. And these border textures also have an alpha channel, which is used to remove the base color from the emissive parts, so we don't have any orange bleeding into the emissive colors here if we didn't connect the color inputs and the color input and the output of our material function like this. We would be seeing some orange under the emissive parts. As you can see, when I turn down my border brightness, we get closer to the orange color, which is the base color here. And when I connect the color output here, we don't have any orange color as you saw earlier. So this is all for the the simple dissolve. And now let's move on to the gradient dissolve. So as you can see, I connected the gradient dissolve material function, and in order to make the gradient dissolve work, we need to use a gradient source, And for this example I will use a vertical gradient. You can see the gradient here, and as you can see we have white at the top and we have black at the bottom. And this works for spherical meshes, and in order to make it work for a cube, for example, we will use a different value for this one. And when we enter 2, for example, we have black at the bottom and we have white at the top, but we don't have the gradient starting immediately at the bottom, as you can see. So you may need to make some adjustments for your mesh. Okay, so I have the same vertical gradient here, but I turned that adjustment value into a parameter, and let's connect it here and hit apply. Okay, so we have our material instance here, and as you can see, while the transition is working properly on the sphere here, it's not working on our chair. So in order to make it work, let's use some higher value here and check if it's working at the border values. Okay, let's use something a little bit higher. Okay, I guess this one is good. As you can see, we have a vertical gradient and we have our effect working, and the rest of the parameters are similar to the parameters in simple dissolve, so I won't explain them again. And if you'd like to get a perfect gradient, you probably need to paint vertex colors onto your mesh and use those vertex colors as the gradient source. So this is all for gradient dissolve. Now let's move on to the planar dissolve. Again, I connected the material function, and I also need to add the corresponding blueprint, which is this one, into my level. And as you can see, nothing is happening right now, but when I hit apply, and also turn on simulate mode on, we will see the effect working. As you can see, when I move my plane, the material dissolves, and this also works for rotation. As you can see, now we have some additional parameters such as dissolve distance, which changes the distance over which the dissolve effect takes place. And let's see what else we have. You can again adjust tiling like this. And we also have an option for cylindrical UVs. Let's turn it on. And in order to make this more obvious, let's also turn on the animated mask. And let's also use a different mask texture. Okay. As you can see, the mask is panning in the normal direction of our plane, and when I rotate the plane, the mask also adjusts itself to the new orientation of the plane. Okay, as you can see, it's now panning in this direction. When I rotate my plane, it's panning in this direction. So that's what the cylindrical UV's parameter does. And we have also, of course, the procedural mask, which works in a similar way. And we also have an option for circular masking, which will be more visible now. As you can see, we have the plane, the corner of the plane on our mesh here, the white part. And when I turn on the circular option here, we will see a circular profile here, a circular border instead of a rectangular one, like this. And if you don't want any borders at all, and by border I mean the border which limits the area affected by the effect, you need to check this one, and there won't be any limits to the effect. As you can see, the whole mesh is being affected now, whether it's under the plane or not. Now let's move on to the cylindrical version. As you can see, I again connected the material function. Let's hit apply, and I also added the corresponding material. I added the corresponding blueprint into my level, which is a cylinder, of course. And as you can see, the area, the volume inside the cylinder is being turned into transparent, and I can of course move my cylinder, rotate it like this, and also I can scale it. Okay, now let's stop and start again. I can also scale it, as you can see, and also I can scale it like this. The additional parameters are, okay, let's first turn this on, turn this up a little, and we also have an infinite option like the one in planar version. As you can see now, the cylinder has an infinite length, or it works as if it had infinite length. And we can also invert this effect, which means the transparent parts will now become opaque and opaque parts will become transparent. Okay, as you can see, the invert mask option does this, and I guess this is all of the additional stuff for cylindrical dissolve. Now let's move on to the spherical one. So let's just delete this one and add the material function for spherical dissolve. And hit apply. And of course we need to delete this one and add the spherical blueprint. Okay, we need to remove this and let's move this up a little bit. And when we go into the play mode, the interior of the cylinder is transparent, as you can see. Let's give it some dissolve distance. And again we have an invert option. Which inverts the area which is transparent. As you can see, again we can of course move this around, and I guess this is all for the basic tutorial. So thanks for watching and bye.